Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Always a good day when this gentleman is across the way from me. That is Bob Lehman. He's the executive director of the San Diego Museum Council. We literally could have a spotlight show every single day and not even come close to touching all the great things that Bob and the council does. Good seeing you, Bob.
Good seeing you, Drew. Thanks for having us back.
You kidding me? That's great. Joined by your colleague, Andrew Utt. He's the executive director of the Institute of Contemporary Art San Diego. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing well, Drew. You are my tocayo, if you know that word.
And so does that have something to do with our name?
That is our name. Yes, we have the same name.
We do. But you go by Andrew.
I do.
And Andrew is my first name, very true. But I go by Drew. Do you go by anything or but Andrew?
I did go by Drew when I was young.
Don't
tell anyone that.
I won't. Listen, I'm very proud of the fact that I share that with you. That's great. How long have you been with the Institute?
I am the founder
right.
as of 3 years ago, but I was with a prior organization that merged to create the ICA.
Okay, very, very good over here. And joined also by Brian Zumbano, Chief Development and Stewardship Officer for the iconic San Diego Foundation that for years is just doing great things in San Diego. You name a topic, you name an area, I will guarantee you the foundation's involved. How you doing, Brian?
Doing great. Thanks a lot for having me.
Of course. How long have you been with the foundation?
Coming up on 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Mark Stewart at the helm. I worked very closely and still do with Bob Kelly, who had that. Bob's now with the senior, community foundation and so forth. So I'm so glad that you're on. We had when Emily Young was working, very frequent guest from the foundation, always talking about environmental stuff. What a shock with Emily, right? And now she's over at the Previs Foundation. But thank you, Brian, for everything that you folks do just to elevate so many different areas in San Diego County. Must admit that one of the groups that I'm near and dear with, Bob, was just at one of our events, Classroom of the Future Foundation Soup Tank, where we did a takeoff on Shark Tank with superintendents, where they did a 3-minute pitch to businesses. And what'd you think of that, Bob?
I think it's an awesome idea. They should be doing it all over the country.
100%. And I'm glad you said that because people have been asking us, how do we start one of these? And I might have Bob Lehman be a spokesperson for us, in that aspect of it. But thanks to you folks, Brian, and working with Michelle, you folks have supported a lot of the learning we've been doing in the Classroom of the Future, and we appreciate that. Bob, give us a nickel tour on the mission of the Museum Council.
The Museum Council connects the museums to each other and to the visitors here in San Diego and the tourists that come to visit San Diego. We're about getting more people into the museum so they can experience them and see what all these great places have to offer.
And you got Museum Month coming up, correct?
It's our favorite month of the year, February.
Talk about it.
We've got 70 museums around San Diego and in Tijuana who are participating this year. And basically how it works is you either pick up a Museum Month pass at a library or you download it to your phone and you take it to one of these museums and up to 4 people get in for half price.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the great events that we have in San Diego, and anyone who's spent more than 5 minutes in San Diego or 5 decades know that the museums that we have in this community are just absolutely phenomenal, whether they are clustered in Balboa Park or whether they're spread throughout the county. How many museums are part of the council?
We've got about 80. I think we just added a new one this week. I think 85 in San Diego County, and then another 20 to 24 down in Baja area.
Right, and I think that's something that's important to chat about. And I know, Brian, you can add to it as well. One of our good friend, Malin Burnham, obviously laser beamed on this cross border. the richest cross-border in the world. And, the foundation, you folks take a great interest in making sure we're working on both sides, correct?
Yes, very much so. In fact, one of our core programs is in the environment, and we have a partnership with other nonprofits across the border called the Binational Resilience Initiative, and that's for climate and ocean health. Obviously, we kind of joke, the ocean doesn't know we drew a line between our two countries. So what affects one affects the other, and it's a great partnership. And like you said, we do a lot of it.
Yeah, you certainly do. And Andrew, talk about what it means for your museum to be involved with the council.
Well, I would say that the importance of San Diego and its growth is in collaboration. So the Museum Council is really the epitome of that collaboration. We ourselves, we're a museum, but we are a museum in a non-traditional sense. We actually call ourselves a living laboratory. And our goal is to actually transform or utilize art as a way to build community. And ultimately, if we are going to be not only great museums within San Diego, but great museums in the world, we all have to work together.
Right. So give me an example of what some of the stuff that you guys do.
Yeah, well, we were just talking yesterday, Bob and I, about the collaborations that we've done recently in the community. So we worked with the Soap Factory to house some of our artists and also to do lectures and presentations with their community. That's a much more recent thing. But I would say actually the institution was born from the ultimate collaboration, which is a merger of two museums. So I was at Lux Art Institute in Encinitas before, and now in 2021, we merged with the San Diego Art Institute. So with that ultimate merger, that created a connection between different parts of the county. And I hope, and I dream and I imagine that the evolution of our organization is not just to be a local organization, but to cross that border. In fact, right after this interview, I'm heading down to Tijuana myself to connect with the Instituto Municipal de Arte y Cultura. And then we're also working with other countries too. So in the next month, we have an artist coming from the Netherlands, and we're working with the Mondrian Fund there, which is a massive foundation in the Netherlands, to bring a wonderful artist talking about gender-based violence.
And I think preaching to the congregation with all three of you, of course, God knows the world needs this. Everyone needs it. This collaboration, heaven forbid, we all have pretty much the same goals we want to do. We want to be happy, healthy, friendly, collaborative, everything in between. Listen, again, museums, the council, and certainly the foundation, that's what you folks do. You're good at it. You cannot talk about it enough. And Brian, talk about how important it is getting the word out. And by the way, congratulations on you becoming a supporter of the Museum Council. Talk about that too.
Well, that's one of, to your point about collaboration between organizations like ours. So San Diego Foundation, we're San Diego's largest community foundation, celebrating our 50th year. And part of it is partnering with organizations like the Museum Council to make sure that we're sponsoring events throughout the year to celebrate that bring community together. We have a vision of just equitable and resilient communities, and what better way than to support the council or their amazing work and making access to some of our top cultural institutions available for everyone.
And one thing that you folks do, Brian, very, very well, obviously working in collaboration with Bob and with Andrew, you level the playing field, because a museum doesn't know color, doesn't know socioeconomic. It just knows people that walk in that door that want to enjoy whatever the art or whatever the music or whatever the innovation that is coming out of it. Bob, just talk about how that is a pillar of what the council does working with these wonderful museums.
It's really the heart of what we do. We want to make the museums more accessible to everyone.
Right.
And there's a lot of perceived barriers to coming to a museum, whether you think it's economic. A lot of people think all the museums are expensive. ICA is free. That's just one example. But, we have many museums that are free or more affordable than people think. Two, they think they have to be dressed up to go to the museum. They think they have to be really quiet in there. All these different types of things. They may feel they're not welcome because of the color of their skin or their financial background or where they're from. So we try to erase all those barriers, and museums have come a long way to making real efforts and collaborating with the whole community to understand what those barriers are and trying to erase those.
Yeah, we're chatting with Bob Lehman, who's the executive director of the San Diego Museum Council, joined by his colleagues, Andrew Utt, executive director of the Institute of Contemporary Art San Diego, and Brian Zumbano, chief development and stewardship officer of the San Diego Foundation. Now, you're starting a very, very cool partnership with the Museum Council as we get into Museum Month. In February, I highly encourage anybody that is listening to this podcast to take advantage of this wonderful month, and not just February. My goodness, there are other months as well. You can do this, as Bob mentioned. You go to the Institute of Contemporary Art San Diego. It is free. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 years of doing great things in San Diego County, from food insecurity to the arts to financial literacy, to everything in between. That they do a phenomenal job. Andrew, talk about basically the ecosystem of art in San Diego and how it has changed, if it has changed, since you've been doing this stuff.
Well, honestly, I don't think it has changed very much.
Okay.
I'll be very honest with that.
Please.
But I'll say the arts ecosystem is much broader than we even imagine. It really starts, and I'll call this like birth to earth type situation. We need to influence our children to understand the importance of culture. That's how we build multi-generational engagement with arts and culture. We also need to make sure that kids have the right understanding of arts. I myself grew up in San Diego. I went to art school in the Bay Area and then evolved my career and understanding of how I can help the arts. But I went through that process and I understand how it functions. And then there's one key component here that I'll bring up, which is we do an exhibition every year in the summer. It's called Next Gen. And we have jurors who identify 7 artists, who select 7 artists who have recently graduated from the different universities and certificate programs on both sides of the border. Of the 7 who were presented this last summer, 5 of them left San Diego. I'm going to leave you with that thought for just a moment. 5 of 7 artists are leaving San Diego after they graduate. Now, that's a significant issue that we have because that affects teaching the arts, that affects teachers in public schools. For those who don't know, Prop 28 defined 1% of California's entire budget towards arts in public schools. And San Diego Unified had a huge number, over 100 teachers, arts teachers that they need to fulfill. They still haven't been able to fulfill that. We don't have enough artists. And those artists aren't staying because there's very little money to support them. They don't have places to stay. They don't have studios. And they need collectors. So collectors who buy the work, who finance those things, there are very few of them. And honestly, they go to other places to buy artwork. They go to LA, they go to the art fairs in LA, they go to Mexico City, they go to New York or Paris. They're not buying here locally. So those are really big issues that we have in San Diego that we need to accomplish.
How do we reverse that?
It's a long game. It's
Right.
a long game for
Right.
sure.
Not gonna happen overnight.
Yeah, we do need to educate people who have the interest in buying artwork. We need to let them know what it means to buy and what that collecting process is. They don't have to spend a ton of money, right? We have artwork in our museum that you could easily buy for under $500. That helps that artist. It helps grow your collection and helps them grow in their ability to have new shows and build their CV and grow in their career. We need more of that. So, if you're listening out there, buy some artwork, buy some local artists, help support that ecosystem. That's one way to start. And then get your kids into the museums. Museum Month is a fantastic way to do that. We have a lot of wonderful spaces, as you said.
Yeah, there's no question about it. When we come back from a break, we're going to continue the conversation with the San Diego Museum Council, Bob Lehman, Executive Director, and his colleagues, Andrew Utt, Executive Director of the Institute for Contemporary Art, San Diego, and Brian Zumbano, Chief Development and Stewardship Officer for the San Diego Foundation. Let us chat about, as Bob knows, he's been a frequent guest on the show. We always save time. what can our listeners do to support your efforts, either collectively through the council or individually with the different organizations that you do. And I'll make this promise. Bob knows this. We can't talk about this enough. We love to offer you folks to make return appearances, bringing in some of the clients that you have worked with. We love to have the students involved in this, get some of the underrepresented groups as well. So we'll chat about that when we come back from this quick break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. Always a good day when we have the San Diego Museum Council, in the house, so to speak. Bob Lehman, Executive Director, has brought 2 of his colleagues, Andrew Utt, Executive Director of the Institute of Contemporary Art, San Diego, and Brian Zumbano, Chief Development and Stewardship Officer for the San Diego Foundation. And Bob, we talked about Museum Month coming in February, but it really should be museum year. Obviously things don't stop on February 28th in that aspect of it. But I want you to chat a little bit about what Andrew brought up. A great example about here, these, 7 artists that got recognized, 5 of them are gone. Brian knows this very well because the foundation works so closely with, the EDC and with the chamber and everything in between. I'm not sure there's a group that the foundation doesn't work with, to be honest with you. And much has been talked about. We want those very, very cool artists to stay here for obvious reasons. We want our smart engineer students to stay here. Nothing wrong with MIT and all that business, but there's a lot of things to do here. Bob, tell me how important that is so people to really understand what's going on in the museums, and this is a great place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I work a lot with students, university students,
Right.
both on both sides of the border, trying to convince them to stay here in this region, that there are opportunities for them. But just yesterday, we had Jonathan Gluss from City of San Diego's cultural department now.
Okay.
And the new cultural plan, one of the biggest issues when they did the surveys around the county to figure out what people really, the biggest issue for them in housing was the number one issue. There's just not housing for these people to be able to stay in the area. But we have groups like the Emerging Museum Professionals and other groups like that kind of help these people new to the field to stay together and find opportunities. We met with a bunch of students that just graduated last month that they all wanted to be, my brain's going blank. Sorry about that.
No worries. But in this vein, and that sort of got me to think about this. I've been involved with the Class in the Future Foundation since its inception in 1997, and a common theme we always talk about on the show are careers. And there are a zillion careers that come out of museums, and in San Diego, whether you're going to be an executive director, you're going to be a curator, whether you're going to be a marketing guy, whether you're going to be a fundraiser, and all that. And maybe you can address that too.
Well, I think one of the things I do on my other side 3 jobs is arts funding, trying to find more funding for arts, sure. And it's from different sources. And we hope that can bring in, more equal pay for people that work right. in the field. People, we're called nonprofits, but we're nonprofit businesses. So we're a business, and most of the salaries that are paid are not, living wages here in San Diego County. And so we advocate for that a lot, so that the institutions know that they need to pay living wages so these people can stay here.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Brian. I've been fortunate enough to have been involved as a charter member of the University of San Diego School of Leadership and Ed Sciences when Paula Cordero ran it. Of course, they had the nonprofit institute there that Emily was working at after she left the foundation. Now she's at Prebis. But talk about, and you can add to this too, Andrew, the misnomer that nonprofits don't contribute to our economy is absolutely so false. Talk about that.
Oh my gosh, 12,000 different nonprofits in San Diego. It's one of the more significant economic drivers in our community, not just, to Bob's great point, the humans who work there, but the dollars that flow through there and the impact that they make in the community.
Right, and so they give back so much too, and you see this, Andrew, as well on this. What would you say, Andrew, what can our listeners do, and then I'll go around the horn on this, what can our listeners do to support what you're doing at your museum?
Well, I'm going to touch a little bit on the workforce thing.
Please.
I mean, it sounds like that's a common topic, and I think we all
talk about it every day.
It is so important. I mean, I myself, I was an artist, and I decided that necessarily wasn't the right path for me, so I wanted to help artists. So the first museum that I worked at was Mingay when I was 21 years old. And then I transitioned. I moved to another country. I moved to a couple of other countries and then came back after a long period. But I got into the museum world because that was my way of helping out. I'll also say that I would maybe put 50% of our staff are artists themselves. And it is a way for them to feel connected and involved. And like Bob was saying, be part of that economic driving force. One of the things that I like to do with my staff is teach them business principles. How does a business function? That way that they can apply those same strategies to their own work and their own artistry. I often tell artists, making art is only 50% of the work. The other 50% is actually running the business. And that means writing grants and doing all these professional development type things that you have. So we at the institution, and I know a lot of other institutions do this, we have professional development programs that help artists, cultural producers, practitioners get out there and run their businesses.
Right. What's the website, your website?
Our website is icasandiego.org.
Okay.
And we're trying to expand those programs.
Right.
I know San Diego Foundation is across the table from us, but there are other foundations that are also helping out with that too.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And certainly with a vibrant art group. We just had Via Musica on earlier today, and I'm not sure if you know Fiona Chatwin. She is a force and just a very, very cool person, and really can't talk about that enough. Bob, what can we do to support just the amazing work that you do? You grow. Every time you come in, you'll be at 183 next time you're in, probably, in museums, even if there are that many in San Diego. Museum Month's about having fun, but it's also a great opportunity for people to get out and see the museums they love and find new ones. A great thing they can do is become a member so they can help financially support and be part of their programs. Two, they can also become a volunteer. Being a volunteer at these institutions is a backbone of a lot of them. And it's also good for the person who volunteers, so it's a win-win. Right, exactly. And I want to thank you again for your support of coming to Soup Tank. We're going to get you involved with more Classroom of the Future Foundation stuff, because literally, you talk about a classroom, literally every single day in that museum, or any of these 83 museums that are part of it, is a learning experience. Andrew knows that more than anything. Brian, I'm not sure what else we can do to help you in this area, other than just say that the foundation has just been such a pillar and it's been doing great things for us in the community. But what can our listeners do to support your efforts?
Oh, like I mentioned, we're happy to be celebrating our 50th anniversary.
Right.
And in those first 50 years, we've partnered with philanthropists and other funders in the community to grant out more than $1.8 billion to mostly local nonprofits. And as part of our 50th anniversary, we're celebrating with a campaign, call it 50 and Forward, as we look to the next 50 years. Yeah. And one of the key goals of the campaign is in alignment with our fund holders. We're going to be granting out $500 million in 3 core areas: education, environment, and children and families. And those are the areas where we see funding from San Diego Foundation being able to make the greatest impact. That doesn't mean it can't go to museums and other cultural institutions. In fact, some of the amazing programs both Andrew and Bob's colleagues do support those areas. So anyone who wants to partner with other philanthropists and make greater impact with their giving at any level can visit sdfoundation.org and find out more about 50 and Forward campaign and more about how they can support the wonderful organizations in San Diego.
No, I think that's terrific. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be reaching out to each one of you individually and having you come back in. Bob's been great at this. He brings in some different museum types as well. Andrew being here too. Andrew, you bring in some of the students or some of the people that you work with, or maybe some of the artists that are working with you as well. Mm-hmm. Our philosophy at the Spotlight Show now for 19 years, we cannot talk about this stuff enough. You can't talk about it once and we'll see you in a year. It's got to be absolutely, and you folks have just always been innovative, always been cutting edge, always been trying to push sometimes like a rock up a boulder up a hill, I should say. So whatever we can do at Cloudcast Media and Spotlight Show, just let us know and we'll be able to elevate and shout out what you folks are doing. So, Brian, nice meeting you. I think we've met before somewhere. It'd be impossible if we hadn't, to be honest with you. Hi to Nuria. Hi to Teresa. Hi to all my friends at the foundation. Bob, it's always great seeing you. I'll circle back to you so you can be thinking about who else you want to bring on the show that elevate. I loved when you had, I think it was probably you that did this. If not, it was someone that you work with at the Railroad Museum on. And it was great as they were doing this. And Andrew, I'm going to look forward to having you back on as well.
Thank you very much, Drew.
We're wishing all you folks a safe, non-windy weekend here in San Diego. Want to give a shout out, as we've been doing, to our first responders. Those firefighters are just unbelievable what they have done in our area, and want to give a shout out to the ones in other parts of the state as well. It's been a really tough start to the year, but thanks to you folks, go to Museum Month. That'll elevate you in a heartbeat. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.